We've had the same top three in Superpole, Race 1 and the Superpole race, meaning the sister will be the favourite here for his first Assen hat-trick. Big numbers, Ducati colours, and the manufacturer's 400th race win. And Steve English alongside me as we...
Alvaro Bautista, he's been the man to beat all the way through this weekend, and no reason to expect anything different, but turned yesterday.
Alvaro Bautista, your pole sitter, and bad news for him on the site. Race 2 of the 2023 Pirelli Dutch Round getting underway. Through from the back of the field, there's bunching towards the back of the field. They're four abreast further down the order. Philip Ertl, Justin Ray in third. Locatelli holding fourth ahead of Bassani. Decent start for Sejuta. Scotchy rounds out your top 10. Fine start from Bautista, exactly as per the form book as far as...
Close enough to try and just put the bike down the inside, but you can see for Alvaro, in these sections of the track, he is able to, he can open up just enough of a lead to hold them off. But top rack into the chicane, he could be...
Banning Locatelli in the race for the bronze medal, with Jonathan Ray also in the mix. But the top three, Bassani, the two of them went side by side there into the Git Timber curve. The exit now of the chicane. Razgatlioglu's got a line, but he couldn't have got much closer without touching the race leader.
Yeah, it's the same behind with Locatelli as well, getting close.
Jonathan Ray will have to keep his powder dry in P3 and hope that the two race leaders hold one another well as well now. Just a couple of tenths of a second to Bassani in P4. He's opened up a gap to Adam.
Top rack, and you can see here at this stage he's got a faster bike. Needs to come through pretty soon though.
And Ray in second and third positions, but look at Bassani now starting to make lines on Ray. Strong start.
Philip Ertl on the open couple of laps.
Yes, he was inside the points paying positions at the time of that BK regular. Bautista, Razgatlioglu, Ray at the front. Bassani still with them. Locatelli also less.
Up to him, the yellow flags are out as well. That's Van der Mark at the chicane.
The home man, Michael Van der Mark. Alex Lowe's now up into 13th position. We catch up with him here. He's got a couple of Ducatis in front of him. Recent seasons, misfortune for him. Latest notification we've had is that we've also lost
and he come through.
More action as top rack Razgatlioglu catches Alvaro Bautista by, so he's going to be passed by two. Ray comes up the inside as well. Bautista hits the front again.
Yeah, and John Oglu getting a scrap, cost each other time during a battle. Ray at least able to latch onto the back of Bautista.
So as we come through the chicane now, Jonathan Ray faster than Bautista coming off that final turn. Number 4, Bautista, Ray, Razgatlioglu, Bassani, Locatelli, 8/10 of a second covering them.
Very good wind knocked out of him after that crash.
Sejuta and Redding 6th and 7th, just 6/10 of a second his way through, and Ray has followed in Razgatlioglu's tyre tracks and made the same.
Ray was a lot faster mid-corner in those sections compared to Bautista, but it's the exit of turn 11.
Possible advantage. He's watched Razgatlioglu make a move and he thinks, I'll have some of that. Bautista, though, Razgatlioglu now will have the drag race advantage in towards turn number 1, and Bassani's menacing as well. Bassani's going to go 3 wide here with Razgatlioglu.
The move on Ray without costing himself time and then be close to Alvaro Bautista. The exit of turn, that's where we have seen that the last 2 laps he's been under attack.
Alvaro Bautista looking more vulnerable on lap 5 to go off strong off the line. Question is then whether he can defend that position later on as well against Dan. Second between this quartet.
Yeah, Toprak had a little bit of a bobble through the Rushkin hook, the turn 6 and 7 up to Bautista at this section of track. He is able to get great drive out of 11, and then
to Toprak, Razgatlioglu, he, Ray, Bassani all need to make back that ground as quickly as possible before he does try to close down Bautista. We'll see what he can do down this start-finish straight. 2/10 of a second was the gap at the end. Running the pace of the men in front of him, is able to make a couple of tenths himself.
Look at
his dream was to be victorious here in Assen for the time, and we're seeing what happens to my top position as Jonathan Ray goes down. Jonathan Ray from 3rd position.
A little bit too hard and just asking a bit too much to the front. That's one of the most popular, for want of a better word.
Start to this 2023 campaign. It continues. He was looking good for a complete weekend.
Championship contention now, and the reason for it is he's having to ride so hard with that cow stakes, and unfortunately for Ray, it's one of those incidents at the front of the field. Though Toprak Razgatlioglu,
the afternoon, there was nothing more he could have done in race 1. He was pushing to the absolute maximum, bit up a little. Ray chasing him from behind in P3 has gone down. So it's Bautista now who podium for him in 2023.
Yeah, for Locke, it's been such a good start to the year, always in the top 5, and he's been able to come out on top of those battles. So for Locatelli, it's a long race. We're only at 1/3 distance. It's
Alvaro Bautista leads Toprak Razgatlioglu. The race as things stand is for 3rd position advantage at this stage.
Yeah, Vieira down in the pit box just explaining what happened to him. He crashed it.
Locatelli on Axel Bassani. He's through for 3rd position, and Locatelli, who's been on the high speed run towards turn 6 and 7, and Locatelli on the switchback.
On the entry to there, probably one of the fastest corners we come through all through the season, and he's got the confidence to hold, not quite able to hold the line.
It's not the first time that Bassani's gone off strong in the first third of a race and then struck in that podium place, but Andrea Locatelli has now been released, and I would be somewhat surprised if Locatelli so far this weekend.
Yeah, And for Locke with that Yamaha, it hasn't been the best of weekends for you. Same level of confidence that they expect.
Lap 8 is where Alvaro Bautista kicked on yesterday. On today in the Tissot Superpole race, and it's a new fastest lap from Alvaro Bautista on lap 8 that I think 1:34.8 for Razgat Lioglu. Bautista's finding more and more pace as this race goes on.
Yeah, and this is what a jump he's been able to make on this lap. Toprak's doing a good job in this race once again, but
third position, still only a couple of tenths of a second between them, and Dominic Egerter is rider still covered by just a second. 1.5 seconds further back, Scott Redding beginning to come under some pass. Will either be Bassani trying to come back at Locatelli, or perhaps more likely Gardner hunting down
an area of the track where he's feeling pretty good. We'll see if he can get close enough to Scott to do something similar. Still a little bit of margining down the timesheets now, so we'll wait and see what's happened to Loris.
Well, it would appear that Loris...
Fast crash as well for Loris. That looks like it's over at turn 15, and the
first things first, he is up to his feet and walking away, and given that he came into this round, he'd be keen to forget all of that action further down the order. Now promotes Tom Sykes into 60.
Top 10, so to give a good indication of just how tough the weekend's been for Rinaldi. Lows from the back on Danilo.
Well, that is the problem, isn't it, for Michael Ruben Rinaldi? Not only is he behind P9, he's only one position ahead of Philip Ertl. So going from bad to worse for Michael Ruben. Alex Lowe's, the Kawasaki, up ahead of Michael Ruben Rinaldi, half a second faster than him last lap around.
It's still interesting that for Scott Redding, his pace isn't bad, still within a few tenths of a second of his personal best in this.
In 2023, his rookie campaign, remember, was a 7th position finish, race 2 of the Indonesian round. And remember that Alex Lowe's will be the man playing the long game here. Having come through from the back of the grid, he is up on this lap 11 so far. That's where the race is. It's 6th, 7th and 8th positions with Redding
able to make that move. Certainly it's a matter of when, because he's had the ability to just jump the
weekend it has been for him, and already down in 7th position in the championship. Rinaldi just 5 points ahead to fight for 3rd position. Axel Bassani has managed to make up a couple of tenths on Andrea.
Compared to the other races so far this weekend and the other sessions, and on that number 47, if he's got
an incident in the background there, I didn't catch who it was, we'll see in a moment's time, but exclamation. Axel Bassani still chasing down Andrea Locatelli for P3. Bautista, your lead
with Gardner up towards Scott Redding, and just making that mistake, but it is still Gardner personal best. So at this stage of the race, he's got good tyres underneath him, but it was in the next few laps yesterday.
Gardner behind. Danilo Petrucci has been dropped by the two of them. Those promoted to 9th. Rinaldi promoted back up inside the top 10, and Tom Sykes now into the points paying. Turn number 1 just a little bit deeper on the brakes than Axel Bassani was able to go, and still Bassani has been
all the way through this weekend. Locatelli's had the better bike, so it's up to Andrea to try and hold off. Struggle with that front tyre life, so we'll see if that's a factor as things go on. This man, Dominic Aguilar, some pace from him. He's going to be in a position to keep the riders in front at least a little bit honest for that podium.
2.8 seconds back. Bassani 2 tenths down. Then it's Egerter 1.2. Redding 2 seconds. Remember that Scott Redding gradually went backwards in the final third of race 1 yesterday, and he tumbled. Take
a little bit of a shut off to avoid Scott Redding, but he's got a lot more grip underneath him right now.
MotoGP men, of course. Redding, a previous podium finisher in MotoGP. Ruben Rinaldi rounding out your top 10. The race very much for 6th position here.
Scott's pace has dropped off quite a bit now. Can we think that it's Gardner, a case of having to clear Redding, and then he's got a lot more pace to be able to try and...
Here in Assen, do hope that everything is okay as far as Van der Mark is concerned. He's had a miserable...
come through. That would have been made into turn 6 and 7, you'd imagine.
So Remy Gardner now up ahead of Scott Danoon. He dropped dramatically backwards. The next in line to have a go at him will be Danilo Petrucci. Race 2.
Yeah, and this is where it's important for Gardner. Get the head down and make sure you're able to stretch away, because see Petrucci close up.
Yes, Petrucci faster than Gardner as well at the moment, which is why he needs to... Petrucci, as I said, 9 tenths of a second back. Alex Lowe's 1.5 seconds further in a resisting stand, and that's coming through from the back of the grid. A little bit of good fortune with the retirement of... He's running similar pace to the riders around him, faster than those behind, the likes of Rinaldi in a Scott Redding. And Redding, 2 tenths of a second back from Gardner, has lost another tenth now to Danilo Petrucci.
5 or 6 seconds behind him to this man, Lorenzo Baldassari.
Baldassari Shireen is ongoing between the two of them, and Gardner now just over 2 seconds behind teammate Dominic Egerter.
This is where you need to try and maintain the pace and just focus on the task at hand. You can see Tom Sykes here, Gardner, Redding, Petrucci group. There's only a second separating the three of them out of the racetrack.
Well, that will be the first time in 2023 that Sykes has had 2 classified.
It's that Scott on the number 45 BMW looks like he's really able to throw that bike around, so he's not lever, maybe just starting to fade at this stage.
Well, Petrucci is closing them down, but only a 10th here, but not making the kind of massive progress that he perhaps might have hoped for.
Yeah, the Petrucci gap came down because distant pace, but not enough really to be able to bring him up to those riders in front of him. The gap hovering.
The Locatelli-Bassani scrap, half a second between the two of them now as well, and Bassani leads on lap 17 now with 5 to go. 3.4 ahead of Razgatlioglu. Locatelli, that's where your race is in 6th position. And further back, the rest of those places looking, gentlemen, is why he's so far clear at the head of the field.
Yeah, that's also no surprise. Well, you can see his fastest lap on the front tyre life in particular, and for Alvaro it's been a case of just making sure he was absolutely nowhere. He was really disappointed and angry about how the bike was handling. He was struggling in the corner, able to find a balance that works for him, and he's been able to have 2 podiums so far, and then on course.
In poetry in motion as far as he is concerned, 4 seconds now his advantage over Razki. 19, remember, he had 2 wins, but he had a slightly abbreviated weekend because the weather conditions were
Saturday that year, but as it is, we've had no issues like that this weekend, and for the Super Bowl, and they're going to come to the end of this weekend, and there's been a very clear pecking order here where it's been Locatelli's done once again a fantastic job in this race and this weekend, running up there in the pan. Need to see from him, because that shows you that he's the perfect foil for Toprak.
Yes, Razgat. When that does happen, Yamaha 6 become available, but Locatelli certainly justifying his inclusion, looking good for yet another Assen podium. This is clearly a venue that suits him, but most importantly, he had 277,
started the weekend inside the top 5 in the pre-practice sessions, and he looks like he's going to end that.
Beating his teammate is already the first mission, and he's looked to have Remy Gardner pretty well on here in Assen.
Yeah, Remy doesn't have it under control right now as well, though, because Scott Redding still in the low 35s now. It's 0.2 of a second now to try and put himself in a position to attack and move himself up into 6th. The first 2 rounds of the year were no fun for Scott, and you certainly want to see him able to get in there and battle.
Place in the Super Pole race in Indonesia, and of course earlier on today was able to take crown of the shot. Still not much to choose between our leaders. Redding losing a little bit of ground
of a second, the gap between them, and it's just stretched out a little bit now for a lot of these to do Bassani here as well in the last couple of laps.
Bassani then versus Egerter. Oh, that Egerter is coming for him. He's still running in the 1:34s, 1:34.984 last.
Dommy's just been able to maintain that low 35s all the way through this race. It's been, you can use a traditional superbike style. You can be heavy on the corner entry like Toprak. It's a very, he's going to be able to give himself the chance of holding on to a top 5 finish, but is it going to be 4th or 5th for him?
Axel Bassani here holding on to that 4th place. He's already been passed by Andrea Locatelli much. Egerter has got another 1/10 of a second gain, just half a second now between the 2 of them.
Wait until that last lap, you'd imagine, but once there's the opportunity, he's come through. Thumbs up for Bautista. I think it's...
They are Axel Bassani in 4th and Dominic Egerter in 5th. Just 0.4 of a second now lap compared to the BMW in front of him. Redding bidding for his best result of this season so far, to scrap with Remy Gardner for as long as possible, but he is now looking vulnerable for that 7th place.
Yeah, the good thing for he's got to survive until the end of the lap, but Assen is made for last lap.
Bassani and Egerter, that's for 4th position, so we've got 2 potential last lap scraps.
Those riders certainly keep an eye on Egerter onto 11, onto turns 12, 13, 14.
To take his 40th, Alvaro. The 2 last lap duels to be settled there, and in both cases, both men, Bassani.
All those riders in the last lap. Scott Redding in particular, though, that's a very good effort from him over the course of this 7th place in this race. That is good going for him.
Well, it's Alvaro Bautista who is Ducati have managed in their history. They will celebrate now their 400th wins, managed the treble. But as far as Ducati are concerned, 400 wins compares very favorably. Yamaha 110, and of our current manufacturers, BMW on 13. In Ducati Red, Bayliss managed 52, and Bautista now on to 40. Obviously, and he made maximum use of that. It's another hat-trick, so beaten just once in the opening 9 races of
races. Obviously, yes. He's had a few hat-tricks, 3 already this season and 4 in the other season. So
just that Tissot Super Pole race from the Indonesian round going against him.
Lah terus gak lejuwe, terus ono kecelakaan tiba mati kok. Sing aku sik karo kendo iki ta sing bro, kendo sing njowo karet zamane aku mbek kendo. Jan mati ning ngarepku iku. Arek kono. Iya ta kok iku. Anakku karo Montorianto mari mangan di Boti. Nah, terus itu kan entrekan ini ya yang ngarep buri ngono. Simpangan aku cek simpangan. Simpangan karo watu ya to gak nganu. Gak merem, dekku merem terus tak longi menenge larane dhisik. Toko dhuwur pada buanter. Nek buri kono sepet ono motor drucu kate Joko. Watu ya. Awan iku. Awan mari beduk. Lah kok merem buanter iku delian atene dekku tak barengno. Aku ndelok teko sepion lah, gak ngeneki nek ku ngeneki mburi motor iku. Motor mburi ku langsung nang sore motor. Njopore jere Allah Akbar kan nyetir ngono. Aku medahe meletik arek nang sore motor. Lha iku bisa nyata langsung aku ndek kono pun weprok mek kendo. Iya kendo ku halo. Halo. Arek kan tugel kabeh nek kene iki. Nek kene iki besok nang ngene. Arek nganu kolone lapangan jare. Lapangan. Oh.
Gomblok.
Iku. Ya iku loro menit suwe langsung nang gua.
Ya berarti tanda disitu kan. Ya iku tanda disitu. Balik daerah kan sampe dhewe mesti.
Iya. Aku gak kene kan teko iki ta. Takone ikan lho.
Lah iya kan
bacok kene wae rumangsaku cowatu iki lho.
Berarti kan sing kan begini mau ada ya.
Iya terus tak prediksi ngene. Paling ya jane sik dongane dhewe iku lah. Musibahe ngene lho. Aku kan ngekei mangan kok slamete gak nang motorku ngono lho. Nang motor buriku. Janang sore bemper bener jadi gulung gardan iki lho ngene aku nek teko motor ketok ngene kan setengah kok ngene ya, ketok ngene lho. Terus aku nek kene anune matek, apa ne? Kambinge matek bapak nelpon mbek cacake, sampeyan nang cacak. Ngendi ae? Terus nyusul.
Sampai nanti nganu ate.
Tau kelor. Arek ku tau betul banter aja nih. Peta Jupiter ME ku. Peta tenggo ya ora. Wong aku ketok del iku rasane ndase arek iku langsung meletik ngene lho. Langsung nangis sore nganu. Nangis sore gardan, ora sore ban gardan. Padahal yo gak banter. Wong aku mari simpangan setengah mandek kene setengah mandek sik ngangkat ngeng. Dek kan gak iya. Dek kan gak rumangsa aku donane gesaki cak donane gesaki cak ngono. Arek telu tok mau. Aku kendo karo supiriku. Terus. Yo gak nani yo. Ora ke wong aduh segano iki wong. Kan wong ditutupi kodong jati karo apa ya. Wis ditutupi ngono terus. Terus gak cuwe polisi teko. Aku lek dadi saksi sampean tak celuk ya ya balik berana yo iya wis pokoke sampean wis jok melani tanggung jawab apa ngerti apa apes. Bener. Ya waktu iku anjene apa sih dhek? Motore abang ngene. Aku motone kan mendolo kene kan desok ngene, desok iku to ngene nang jero desok. Tangane sing kiwuk sing tenan kok kiwuk malik ya. Malik wis gak karuan.